Hello. Have you ever found yourself shouting at the radio during a football match? I have. My team were losing to a side they really ought to have beaten. I was feeling really impatient for our side to score. In a moment of frustration, I yelled at the referee to give us a penalty, as if my voice from the sofa was going to make the slightest difference. Moments later, I realised how ridiculous I'd been. Worked up over a triviality. Because, of course, there are things in life far more deserving of our concerns than sport. The challenges of family life, the pressures of work, the setbacks and disappointments that try the patience of a saint. And impatience isn't new. 3 centuries ago, young men across Europe were fighting duels over matters of so-called honour. The role of their seconds was to urge restraint, to encourage waiting a little longer before drawing swords. Often, that advice fell on deaf ears. The result? Impatience could prove fatal. Today, we are no longer asked to fight duels. Instead, our battles are with traffic jams, airport security queues, or customers who are, shall we say, less than polite. Non-life-threatening, but patience-testing nonetheless. What then might patience look like in everyday life? And how might we cultivate more of it? Let me suggest a few ways. 1. Don't have unrealistic expectations. It helps not to expect life to run smoothly, because it just doesn't. The impatience comes when one expects reality to conform to one's own wishes. We assume things and people ought to behave the way we think they should behave. But cashiers chat to the person in front of us in the queue. Motorways jam, flights are delayed, and expecting otherwise is a recipe for frustration. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. This may sound gloomy, but is actually freeing. Number 2, find out about the cause of a delay. What's really causing the problem? It's easy to imagine that someone's out to annoy us, but sometimes, often in fact, there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. Reflection brings perspective. In this way, we can avoid jumping to unwarranted conclusions and challenge our fanciful imagination. And this helps us find a calm patience despite of the difficulty. Number 3, to gain patience, learn from nature. Gardeners know that seed beds take time, trees take longer. Patience is built into the rhythms of growth. We can learn it too by trying to go with the flow of nature and the flow of parenting for that matter. Parents too will tell you children can test your patience with their noise, with their mess, with their demands. But kids can be so rewarding if you allow time to do its work. 4. Use observation. Patience can come from noticing things, from looking differently. You are hungrily waiting for a meal in a restaurant. Instead of fixating on the absent waiter, you might notice something pleasing in the room, a picture, or call to mind a happy memory. In other words, be awake to what is good, rather than what is missing. Time passes much more quickly when we are creatively absorbed in something, and it passes much more slowly when we are not. Thinking about a matter more important than what we are wanting at that moment helps us to recognize that what we've been waiting for isn't absolutely crucial. Number 5. When you're thinking to yourself, don't justify impatience to yourself. We need to watch out for any sense of entitlement lurking away in the back of our heads. I deserve this and I deserve it now. Such a belief only encourages impatience. In any case, others have their rights as well. Why should I take precedence? One might also try to justify impatience by considering that patience is equivalent to apathetic resignation. But patience is not. It's not a weakness. We can only do what we can do in any situation. Once we've done it, then remaining patient does not mean being a doormat. It means recognizing that sometimes rushing doesn't serve anyone well. All this amounts to examining one's way of thinking, and this often will show how it is the mind that is the cause of discomfort, not the outer circumstances. What is crucial is the choice one makes when faced with any particular situation. You either wait on the phone listening to music, or you phone back at a less busy time. In other words, we can learn patience by no longer choosing to justify our impatience. Well, we've come to number 6 in the list. Reduce attachments to what is external in your life. Psychologists remind us that human beings, like all animals, are wired for short-term rewards. We want gratification now, not later. I'm afraid this is my big failing. I'm impatient because I want it now. I want to not have to wait. But I'm reminded, is it desiring something really worthwhile, or is it something that actually isn't that important? Now, I would suggest that this inner patience comes easily to some people because they allow themselves to be led by the lessons of life rather than indignantly dwelling on the unsatisfied desires of ego. If so, patience grows when we practice contentment, learning to let go of the demand for immediacy. Number 7. This is accepting that frustration and delay is actually needed for spiritual learning. Across the great spiritual traditions, patience is promoted as a virtue that we need to develop because it enables us to find self-control over impulses. It enables us to maintain standards in this way. So that in Buddhism, patience means holding emotions steady when under verbal attack. In Judaism, patience reflects wisdom rather than folly. In Islam, patience is as natural as waiting for the harvest, for to patiently endure calamity and suffering is to be closer to Allah. In the Christian Bible, the book of Revelation offers hope to those with patient endurance while suffering persecution for the sake of what they believe to be good and true. Now, sharing one's life with those who oppose what we believe deeply, how tempting it must be to give up one's principles because of the ridicule and contempt of others for what we say, for what we think, for what we believe. Patience is therefore needed in the context of inner conflict and temptation. False notions about the difficulties we experience, about life itself, false ideas, challenge our hold on good spiritual principles. When we start to doubt our own higher truths, we are vulnerable to give up on the ethical life we had been following. You may have heard of Helen Keller. She was from infancy blind, deaf and dumb, for heaven's sake. Yet she once wrote, "We could never learn to be brave and patient if there were only joy in the world." How profound. Patience, then, is not simply gritting our teeth until the irritation passes. It's a kind of spiritual training, a habit that can over time become second nature. Finally, how to gain patience is number 8. It's to trust in what I believe is called divine providence. The Swedish thinker Emanuel Swedenborg suggested that real patience comes not from our own strength alone. He said it comes also from trusting in a divine, deeper providence. He meant a reliance on a universal spiritual force that has the power and foresight to provide what we need. A universal love, a wise love, concerned for us. He said the priority of this providence satisfies not so much our worldly needs, our immediate needs, which are only temporary, but rather those inner spiritual needs that we will continue to have in the long term. Need, for example, to feel we belong. Need for loving relationships. Need for a meaningful role in life. He meant having a sense that life's frustrations and setbacks may themselves carry hidden meaning, that they may be teaching us something essential. This belief helps me to try to see the larger picture when things get delayed. It helps me to think that if something is not going smoothly, this might possibly be a blessing in disguise. To go with the flow without kicking against the bricks. And so, when life doesn't go to plan, when the traffic crawls, the referee misses the foul, or the cash machine swallows our card, it may help to step back and wonder, is there perhaps a larger rhythm at work? The psalmist in the Old Testament Bible wrote, "I wait patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry." Thank you for listening to me. And if you've liked what I've said, why not click the link to my video? Why can't I stay happy? Goodbye.